Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, Mally, and today we're going to talk about Dragon Ball. Now, when I say Dragon Ball, I'm talking about the entire franchise and mainly the anime. Because there's so many different forms of media for this game, we're going to talk about the anime only. Because if we were to talk about all the games, all the manga, all the stuff that hasn't even been animated yet, then we would be here all day. So we're just going to stick to the anime today. And before this video begins, guys, I would really appreciate it if you were to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Now, in my opinion, Dragon Ball is known mainly for the characters, not the story, not even the fighting, but the characters themselves. This is an unforgettable cast of characters that have become more iconic than probably anything else in the world. I'm almost fairly certain that Goku is the most recognizable figure in the entire world. You can show somebody's grandma a picture of Goku and there's a big chance that she's at least have seen him before. He is by far the most recognizable character, the most common in all media, except for maybe Pikachu. But then again, I feel like I see Goku way more than I see Pikachu. But the entire cast of characters is really what makes this show what it is, you know? There would be no Dragon Ball if there wasn't a Piccolo, you know? If there wasn't a Goku, a Gohan, a Vegeta, bro, Vegeta. These are the most popular anime figures ever. And I feel like the show wouldn't do nearly as well if the characters weren't so iconic. And a part of that is just because Dragon Ball has been around for a really long time, but that's also because the Dragon Ball is a really good show and it's just unforgettable almost, you know? There hasn't really been something else like it since it came out, you know? Dragon Ball kind of paved the way for every anime to come after it. And it also has the most iconic scene in anime history, maybe even TV history, which is Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time. And also when Ultra Instinct came out, that shit was everywhere. I didn't even watch Dragon Ball when that first came out because I was more of a Naruto guy. But let's get down to the first real topic I have for this video, which is the character design. Now, people will say that character design in this show is kind of bad because they say that all the Saiyans' faces look the same with different hairs slapped on top of each other. And while that may be true, I feel like this show does a super good job with designing their characters. Now, me personally, I think Z Broly is one of the coolest looking anime characters of all time. Not Super Saiyan Z Broly, but just base form Z Broly with the golden headband, the chain. I think that is just a super cool design for a character. And not to mention all the Super Saiyan forms are so iconic, and especially Super Saiyan 4, you know? The Super Saiyan design is so well done that it's one of the most iconic things in television. And I love the way that the villains look in this show. Frieza, Cell, Boo, Beerus, Goku Black's fit is just fire. Even though I wasn't really the biggest fan of Jiren, but you know, you can have a miss. In a show full of well-designed characters, you can have a miss or two, you know? Because then the next arc after that is Moro, and I think Moro is one of the best designed anime villains in general. And then after that you have Granola, and you know, I'm not too big on Gas, but I think he's alright. And I think Zamasu was done really well in the manga. I'm not really sure how well he was in the anime, because I remember him in the anime not really being the same as in the manga, and there was a lot of stuff changed in that whole arc. And people say the translation to the anime from the manga was so bad, and I kind of agree. I think Super Saiyan God should have been utilized more, which brings us to the story and the pacing. Now, we can all agree that Dragon Ball's story isn't super fucking crazy like One Piece is. Not to say it's a bad story, you know, because it is a very widely liked story. And in Dragon Ball Z, it actually does have some impact to it, you know, it does have some shock value with some of the shit that happens. And you are a little worried for what's gonna happen to the characters in Dragon Ball Z. In the Cell Saga, nobody thought Goku was gonna come back. We were all what the fuck, he's actually gone now, you know? And then it cuts to Gohan a few years later, and we were damn, so Gohan is the main character now. But then of course he came back, and then the whole Buu Saga started, which, you know, I think the Buu Saga is my least favorite out of the three, but it is still just a super good and super iconic part of the story. And Dragon Ball Super kind of lost the impact of the story, you know? Nobody thought anything bad was gonna happen throughout that entire story. I guess there were a few parts in the Zamasu arc that were kind of you know, a little iffy, I wasn't sure what was gonna happen, but that was basically the only time where I was unsure of what was gonna go on and who was gonna live and die, you know? But then they kind of found a weird cop-out to defeat Zamasu, which, you know, which I kind of get it, because how are they ever gonna defeat him? He was immortal. So, you know, they just had to get another god character to just kind of one-shot him. But it kind of made the entire arc seem useless, you know, trivial almost. They did all that fighting just for Zeno to pop in and go, oh, I don't like this, and then just fucking erases him. So I feel like the ending to that arc was really disappointing, but like the lead up to it was so good, and it could have been a lot better, you know? I just feel like, not to besmirch his name, you know, like rest in peace the creator of Dragon Ball, rest in peace Toriyama, but I feel like he just doesn't have good ways of killing people off, and I feel like he lacked some like kind of an overarching idea of what Dragon Ball Super was supposed to be. Like with Dragon Ball Z, there was a clear idea, you know? Goku wanted somebody to take his place, and Vegeta's story was all about like a turning of hearts, you know, like an evil man becoming good. And those emotions were definitely conveyed throughout the story, you know, with Goku not wanting to be brought back after he killed Cell, and Vegeta sacrificing himself to protect his son, you know, like those were overarching characters, and like the entire story they were kind of building up to those moments for themselves. And then in Dragon Ball Super they kind of forget who they are almost. Like how Goku makes fun of Vegeta for meditating in the Dragon Ball superhero movie, which is, it's almost like the creator of Dragon Ball doesn't even know the characters he made anymore, you know? It's like he forgot what Dragon Ball Z was really just all about. And also, I cannot take the disrespect from the Z fighters from Dragon Ball Super. Like, I understand Yamcha has always been just kind of like shit on, but you have to give him like more credit than that, you know? And I know in the manga and the Moro arc they do, like he holds his own against a lot of strong people in the Moro arc, which I do like. I do like that they like don't really embarrass them too much in the new mangas, but in Dragon Ball Super it kind of makes them all seem really weak, you know? And I know in comparison to the main characters, they are supposed to be really weak, but that brings us to the power scaling. Now the days of power levels are over, you know, like there's no scouters being used anymore, and they never will be used again, you know? Like now everything is God Ki. Goku and Vegeta possess the power of the gods, right? But then whenever they fight buddies like Krillin, they still put up a good fight. And it's like, well, Krillin wasn't even Super Saiyan level, and now he's Super Saiyan Blue level? Like it's kind of weird, and you guys know what I'm talking about. The whole thing is just kind of messed up, you know? After Beerus said that Goku's new base form is basically the level of Super Saiyan God, or at least he's reached a new height because he's witnessed the powers of Super Saiyan God, it became a shit show after that, you know? And that's where the theory spun, like, is base form Kaba stronger than Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta from GT? And I'll be honest, that statement basically fucked up the entire community, and there is no reversing it. Now that it's been said, now that it's been like published, there is no going back. And I know, I guess they can retcon it because they just be retconning anything now. Like apparently Super Saiyan 4 is canon, and he had it, and he could have used it against Beerus. Like there's no explanation why Goku didn't go Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus, but you know, what the fuck ever. Dragon Ball Daima itself just wasn't as good as it was hyped up to be. I mean, it looked good, but like the action sequences were dog shit. And honestly, I think that Goku's English dub voice actor is kind of losing it, you know? Because this is the first time in like Dragon Ball history where I think that the Super Saiyan 4 like Japanese was better than the English. And I never think that about fucking anything, but I honestly think the Japanese like roar was better. And the story of Daima just doesn't really make any sense to me. Like there's no reason for it to be there. I understand that it was the creator's last work, but it just wasn't a good final piece, you know? Like I would have preferred just to have Dragon Ball Super like the Moro arc animated, but hopefully like the fighting would be better, because the fighting in Dragon Ball Daima was just so bad. It was basically just the characters punching the camera. Like I just have never, like it's so lazy, you know? Like they didn't even like bother going through action sequences. Like how are you gonna have a movie like Dragon Ball Super Broly and also most of the Z movies like just perfect fighting, like actually beautiful fighting sequences, and then have shit like that? And it's not even just Daima, it was kind of like that for a bit of Super too. And I really think they just lack the effort, you know? Or it could be like a thing where they were rushed in the animation studio and they were given a limited budget and all that, but it kind of felt just a little heartless, you know? Like it didn't felt like anybody really cared about what was actually going on. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter how dog shit the show was, the Dragon Ball fans were always just gonna glaze it no matter what, you know? Like Dragon Ball fans can get like the worst looking shit ever, the lowest effort shit, and they'll be just fine with it, you know? The only time I can think of like Dragon Ball fans actually being a little upset about like how low quality something is the Resurrection F movie. I remember when Resurrection F came out, nobody really fucked with it. And that's like the only time I can remember the Dragon Ball fandom kind of standing up for shit like that. But the Dragon Ball studio studios, like whoever makes the games in the anime, they don't even need to put effort in because it's a Dragon Ball thing that they're making. Like it'll sell itself just because it is Dragon Ball, which does suck, you know? Especially with the way that they're treating Sparking Zero. I mean, just like no content at all, no new content in such a long time. And when they do give us new content like Shala, it's the lowest effort possible. Like he can't transform or nothing. Even though in the game that he's from, he can transform into fucking everything. Like there's not a single transformation he can't become. And in Sparking Zero, he can't transform into anything. It's just that Dragon Ball carries such a name with itself, and I think that's why they can put it like no effort in, because they know it will just sell itself. Like somehow Super Saiyan 4 transformation was the most popular thing to come out within recent time, like bigger than Gear 5 and all that shit. Like I know that it's hyped to see Super Saiyan 4 in the modern era, but I just really did not like the design. I think the voice actor for English kind of fucked up, and I think the action sequence following it was also just mid too, you know? Like they don't have to put any effort into anything. Like you have something that looks beautiful like One Piece, right? And they push those episodes out like fairly often, and we haven't gotten a new like Dragon Ball Super update in years. And if we do, it will probably look like shit, you know, because like I said many times, Dragon Ball will sell itself. And the reason why I'm being so harsh with Dragon Ball is because it is one of my favorite just media anythings of all time, you know? Like it's my second favorite anime. It has some of my favorite games, and I've had probably the most fun watching it than I have with anything else, maybe except for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know? And so I critique it because I want to see better. It's kind of like being like a coach for your team, you know? Like you got to break them down so they can learn to be better and like actually be like what they have the potential to be. Because as it stands right now, Dragon Ball doesn't really, like, it's not good right now. Like the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie was fucking amazing, and then the superhero movie was, you know, it was okay, I guess. I didn't really like the way that like Beast Gohan's hair is that fucking big, but that's kind of my only gripe with it. And also like the CGI, but you know, whatever. It's a stylistic choice and it's just not my style. Like I speak for all Dragon Ball fans, like I don't care how long it takes, but if Dragon Ball Super like Moro arc, Granola arc, if it looks like how Dragon Ball Super Broly did, it will be the best performing anime. And honestly, since the story material is already so well written, at least for the Moro arc, I'm pretty sure it would be considered the best like anime arc of all time. Like if the Moro arc gets animated the same way that the Broly movie was animated, it would probably be hands down the greatest arc of all time. And they have the potential to do it, but I just don't know if they will, you know? Like they can just animate it, include some parts in it, not even like be true to the manga, and they'll be just fine because it's Dragon Ball. And hell, you know, they could honestly make the Granola arc into like a 2-hour movie. Like the Granola arc is short enough to become like a 2-hour, maybe 2-hour 30-minute movie. And if they animate it the same way as DBS Broly, that would be a fucking another banger movie, you know? It would be a nice comeback from the Dragon Ball superhero movie, which again, it wasn't bad, but it just doesn't even hold a candle to the Broly movie. But yeah, guys, that does it for this video. If you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to share it with all your friends, all that YouTube stuff. And I really do like Dragon Ball, man. I just wish I could see more of it. Like, it's so pick and choose what happens, you know, and I hate it because it is one of my favorite animes of all time. And tell me what you guys think about Dragon Ball, you know, because I do care, because I want to see like what the masses think about it, not just me and my friend group. But I'll see you guys in the next video.